school, and in 1967, one of the EIE kids was Laura Schwartz. And in 9 years later, he married her. Okay? And they had a daughter, Carmit. Now, in 2008, Laura and Carmit were ordained as rabbis. So Carmit became the first Reform rabbi whose mother and father are also Reform rabbis. And her father was the first EIE student. Okay? Next, Professor Eli Reckes. Now, Professor Eli Reckes is the director of the Konrad Adenauer Program for Jewish-Arab Cooperation at the U Tel Aviv University. He's a senior research fellow at the Moshe Dayan Center for Middle East Studies. He's one of the foremost authorities on Arabs in Israel. His wife is Anki Reckles Spitzer. How many of you, I'm afraid to ask, know what the Munich 11, know anything about the Munich 11? Okay, let's hear, what was it?
They were the hostages during the 1972 Olympics.
Right. In the Olympics, in 1972, the Palestinian terrorists captured 11 Israeli, they captured 11 Israeli athletes and murdered them. Now, one of them was a fellow named Andre Spitzer, who was the coach of the fencing team. And Eli Reckes' wife was the widow, Anki was the widow of that Spitzer. Okay? Now, 3 of the first 4 Israelis who were in EIE became the first 4 rabbis, Israeli-born rabbis, ordained in Israel for the Reform movement. So the first 4 of them, 3 of them were EIE. The 4th one we didn't know when he was young, so he made up for it, and he sent his son on to EIE. So EIE was very much part of that. One of them was Gil Nativ. Gil Nativ, who's a rabbi now outside of Beersheba, he went, his 2 sisters went, his children went, their children went, so apparently it's a good enough experience that it was duplicated, replicated, and people liked it. Another EIE is Uri Regev. Uri Regev is a rabbi and a lawyer. He founded Iraq. Anyone know what Iraq is? Anyone know what RAC is? What's RAC? So what do you think Iraq is? Israel Religious Action Center. No, you got it, but you ain't got it. Israel Religious Action. Uri was the founder of it. And then he became the president of the World Union for Progressive Judaism. And now he's the CEO of Chidush, which is the association to forward religious equality and freedom in Israel. He's married to Gary Grossman Regev, who was across the valley here in Kibbutz Malei HaChamisha in the college academic year. They have, so Uri's a rabbi and a lawyer, and they have a son and a daughter-in-law who are both studying for the rabbinate. And Uri was an EIE. Once when I was here, there was a youngster who used to come around and hang around the office all the time, Nama Cohen. And Nama Cohen was one of these wonderful people who, there was an anachronism. In other words, she was already an adult. And because she was an adult, the kids around her didn't have much to do with her. So she had nothing to do, so she would hang around with adults. So she came, and I finally said, Nama, I want to loosen you up a bit, I'm going to send you an EIE. We sent her to Long Island. And she came back a different person. She came back just as mature, but she was, she could get along with her peers. Now, Nama became the director of the Truman Peace Institute at the Hebrew University. It's a big building, it's a big job. And a few years ago she said, Hank, I want to have lunch with you and I want to bring someone with me. I said, sure. So we had lunch at the faculty club, because she's a big shot there. And the woman there, she's just smiling at me and so forth. She said, we haven't met, but when I tell you who I am, you'll know who I am. What happened was, this woman had decided to come on Aliyah, and she knew Nama very well, but she wanted to surprise Nama, so she wasn't going to tell her. So she was here for 2 or 3 weeks, and she was in the line at the Supersol in the market, and she was right behind Nama. So she taps her on the shoulder, and Nama looks at her and nearly passes out. They embrace and so forth. The bottom line is that woman is now the assistant director of the Truman Center, because she was Nama's American sister. Nama stayed in EIE at her house, and her American sister was this woman, and that was her second in command at the Truman Institute. We've had all sorts of Chasdi, famous people who adopt EIEs, because you know before EIE was done at homes. It wasn't done at a separate place like this. One of them was Shimon, who was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Israel. And another one, how many of you have heard of the Tekes Stadium yet? Anyone heard of the Tekes Stadium? Who's it named for? Teddy Kollek. Teddy Kollek was the legendary mayor of the city of Jerusalem. And he had a daughter, Osnat. And Osnat was a lot like Nama Cohen. So Teddy's wife came to us and said, we would like to host an EIE. When they host them for 4 months. So it wasn't just, a weekend. So we would like an EIE student. We want someone who's a chevraman. What's a chevraman? Someone who's got a lot of personality, who bubbles. So we got finally Wendy Mayan, but her name was Wendy Siegel from Minneapolis. And she went and stayed with the Kolleks. And later on, when her program was done, to my Kollek, the mother came and said, we want another one for next year. Wendy went on to make Aliyah and was one of the first mazkira, like the mayor of Kibbutz Lotan. EIE, right? They make well. Finally, I'm going to tell you a little bit the EIEs from America who came here. I want to tell you, of the first trio, one is now the director of the Israel program for ordaining rabbis at the Hebrew Union College. His name is Mark Rosenstein. He was the one of the trio of the first 3 Americans that came over here in 1961. Dr. Jeff Hoffman was an EIEer. Anyone ever hear of him? The first Jewish astronaut. He made 4 trips into space, and so quite a guy. He was an EIEer as well. I'm reading now a book called No More Enemies. It's written by Deb Reich, EIEer, who lives in Jerusalem, and it's quite a book. Alan Silva, is the director of the Avichai Foundation. And I'm going to finish with just one more story about twins, Avi and Yoav Schaefer. They were both EIE students. And they kept coming back here from time to time. And they went in the Army, and especially Avi was in a very special hush-hush unit. It's one of these units where someone says, I can tell you what unit I'm in, but then I'll have to kill you, and so, and wonderful people. And they both went off to college, and Avi went to Brown, and Yoav went to Harvard. And Avi, because of the skills that he had learned, first Avi was the head of the Brown Jewish students who wanted to integrate with the Arab students and get to know each other. A very, very special guy. And then something else he decided to do, because of the skills he learned in the Israeli army, he went to the police of Providence, he was a Brown, and said, I can train your people in the, what do you call those, the commandos that come in, what they send them in, SWAT, for your SWAT team. And they said, okay, and he was doing a wonderful job, just as a volunteer. One day he was coming home, and in the evening, and with some of the Brown student was drunk, and he said, don't drive. The guy said, I'm going to drive, and he said, stop the car, I'm getting out. As he got out, another drunk came by, and he was killed, and it went over. So that's a sad ending for the EIE, but he's a wonderful guy, and he was, and there's a big heritage, and you guys have a lot of things that you can live up to, and I'm sure you will. All the best.